Look at my husband.
Look at my wife.
Hey.
Look at my wife.
Hey.
Look at my wife. Step 1. Cut your CDX plywood. Materials used for this step is a table saw, miter saw, and some scrap CDX plywood I was able to salvage from one of my job sites. Just in case you don't have access to these power tools, you can rip your CDX plywood and make miter cuts with a circular saw from your local Home Depot. In this step, you will need to rip or cut your plywood down to your desired size. For the sake of this video, I am ripping my scrap CDX down to 4.5 inches. Set your miter saw to 30 degrees. Next, you will need to cut your ripped plywood down to the desired length and make a 30 degrees miter cut at both ends of your plywood. Do your best to make sure that the mitered ends are cut nicely. Step 2. Assemble. Materials used for this step is wood glue, blue tape, nail gun, a utility knife, and of course, your CDX plywood. For this step, I suggest that you organize all of your ripped and mitered plywood in one location, just so that it is easier for you to grab and go. It takes 6 plywood, ripped and mitered at a 30-degree angle to make one honeycomb shelf. Start with applying wood glue to all the mitered ends. I'm using my finger in this example because it's easier and faster for me personally. You can also use a putty knife to apply your glue. Next, I will show you an easy trick to level and fit your mitered plywood together. Start with laying your plywood on a flat surface with the mitered end butted next to each other. Be sure to butt them together like the example shown. Next, use one of your pre-cut plywood as a fence to align and level the CDX plywoods that you are getting ready to assemble. Once you have your CDX leveled, now use 2 strips of blue painter's tape from the bottom end of the CDX to the top end. Once completed, simply roll your plywood into the shape of your honeycomb. Next, check all 6 mitered corners to make sure that they are all even. If you happen to have an uneven end like this one, it's a simple fix. Simply use your utility knife to cut the tape in the uneven section to release the mitered edge. Now that the uneven section is released, you can now make it even and then use your blue tape to re-secure it back together. Next is one of the steps that I truly enjoy the most, using your nail gun to fasten the glued mitered ends together. Note, I suggest that you only use a nail gun for this step so that your joints are seamless. Step 3. Filling and sanding. Materials used for this step is wood filler, a putty knife, and 150 grit sandpaper. Start by removing the tape from the unfinished shelves. Start filling in the location of the shelf that were nailed and where the mitered ends meet. Once you have filled your shelf with wood filler, the next step is to sand them. For the sake of this video, I am hand sanding the shelves But if you have access to a belt sander or an orbital sander, you can use it instead of sanding it with your hands. Finally, check the shelf for any holes that were missed and then move on to the next step. Step number 4, painting. Materials used for this steps are 2 paintbrushes, semi-gloss stain plus poly, and a white chalk paint. Start by applying your first coat of stain plus poly to your honeycomb shelves. Remember, the more coat you apply, the darker the finish will be. For the sake of this video, I only applied 3 coats to my honeycomb shelves. Start by adding your blue tape around the outer and inner portion of the shelves that will have the white accent on the front edge, and blue tape on the outer and the front edge of the shelf that will have the white accent on the inner portion of the shelves. Next, you will need to make a decision on how many of your newly stained shelves you're going to add your white accents to. Being the fact that I made 6 shelves in total, I will apply white accents around the front edge of 3 shelves and then add white accents in the inner portion of the 3 remaining shelves. Next, remove the blue tape once the white accent paint has dried. If you notice that your accent paint has spilled over onto your stain finish, simply wipe it with a warm rag and the paint will easily come off. Step 5, hardware and installation. Materials used for this step is a screw gun, impact gun, 1/4-inch plastic anchors, 1/4-inch drill bit, 1/2-inch screws, and sawtooth hangers. I added a screwdriver to this list because it can be used as well. Next, I will start with installing the sawtooth hangers to the shelves. I decided to use the 1.5-inch screws because they will hold a lot stronger than the nails that came in the original package of hangers. I had to widen the holes of the hangers using a 7/64 drill bit so that the 1.5-inch screws would insert easily. Next, I installed 4 hangers to one shelf, 2 at the top of the shelf and 2 at the bottom. You can install as many hangers as you see fit. Next, the final step is installation. Start with finding the highest point on the wall that you wish to install your honeycomb shelf. For the sake of this example, I will be installing the shelves over my wife and I's bedhead as tight to the ceiling as possible. Once you have the first shelf in position, installing the others will be a simple task. Use a pencil to outline the position of the shelf so that you can find the exact location to place your plastic anchors. Once all of your shelves are installed, take a step back and admire all the hard work you've put into your DIY project. I truly hope that this video has been super helpful for you with your honeycomb DIY project. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, and share.